All right, howdy everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello, how's it going, eh? Welcome back, and thank you very much for shooting in. Another live show, a special afternoon edition. It's Canada Day up here in the Great White North, there, eh? That's right. Tuesday, July the 1st, 2025. Just a wee past 1 p.m. local time, mountain time, because as usual, we're coming at you live from the foothills of the Canadian Rocky Mountains here in southwestern Alberta. That's right, Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada land. And well, she's Canada Day there, Bod. So happy Canada Day to all of my fellow Canucks. And Independence Day in America there's coming up pretty quick there in a few days. So a preemptive happy Independence Day for my American friends and neighbors. July the 4th, 4th of July, of course. So as mentioned, early afternoon edition of the show here, just kind of an extra live stream. Where, we'll keep the usual schedule as the week progresses. Tomorrow you get vintage footage and Friday boots on the ground. And then this coming Sunday, live show, episode 127. But today, episode 126, the Canada Day show. We're going to look a little bit at Canada. Just a quick look at the Wikipedia, as per usual, just to give us a quick rundown on the history of Canada Day and how the name of the holiday itself, Canada Day. Because when you say it a certain way, it just sounds funny. Canada Day, Canada Day. Sounds like you have a speech impediment or something. Anyway, July 1st, Canada Day, long weekend. A lot of people had the 4-day weekend up here. Did I? Nope, not at all. Not one bit. I have today off for the nation's birthday, so that's a beauty. But a lot of people had the Saturday, Sunday, yesterday, today off. So, hey, how do we celebrate Canada Day up here for our nation's birthday, our Independence Day? Any different than down in the U.S., for example? Nope, not at all. Barbecues, fireworks, beers and friends and family and loved ones over, hanging out in the backyard, maybe a pool party, maybe a block party. Maybe just having a quiet afternoon watching sports on the boob tube. I don't know. As my granddaddy would call it, the idiot box. It turns out he was right the whole time. The whole time. Granddaddy was right. Always listen to Granddaddy. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Really appreciate you taking time out of, well, hey, if it's your 4-day long weekend and you're spending it here with me, thanks. Thanks a lot there, eh, bud? Let's say hello to everybody in the chat. Yeah, see how everybody's doing. Say hi in the box. Kathy Broughton's here. Hello, Kathy. Good to see you again. Long time no see for everybody, by the way, right? Channel Fitty Trees here. At work typing on dual screens. Oh, be careful. I'll tell you what, I'll meet you halfway on the being careful. I'll try not to use too much excessively foul language or blue language. But also, you got to meet me halfway as well. And, be careful that the boss isn't watching you while you're watching the show. We don't say anything too outlandish here, but a lot of people still think it's pretty outlandish. Baja in the box. Howdy, howdy. Welcome. Good to see you. Title's here. Wishing me a Angel Dreams is here as well. Greetings from Northern California, IA. Lovely. Been to California a couple times. Eureka on a road trip, and that's furthest north I've been is Eureka. And then San Francisco, but only as a stopover, flying, at the airport, flying to LA. For some reason, we stopped. I think we had to switch planes even for some strange reason. We flew from Calgary to San Francisco and then switched planes to fly from San Fran to LA. It was weird. But hey, when you fly Air Canada, you never know. You might have to change airplanes like 6 times for a 3-hour flight. That's always pleasant. Mr. Beast fan in the box. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Howdy, howdy. PCS World is here. Eric is here as well. Lost and Found History Rewritten. Howdy. Good to see all of you. Thank you very much. Old World, Michigan in the box. Hello, hello. So kind of the usual format here. We're going to, as mentioned, look at the Wikipedia. I like using Wikipedia because a lot of times it's just ridiculous. But normies, but they'll just buy it. They'll swallow the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. You know what I mean? Without even question. So I like to use the Wikipedia. We'll have a look at that. We'll take a quick mid-show break, as always. You already got your sneak peek at your upcoming midweek. So I uploaded some rare footage of the interior of the parliament in the nation's capital in Ottawa. Rare footage taken in, I'll have to double check the date on that. I think it was in the 30s, 1930s. And then when we come back, I've got some old photographs of old buildings, old world Tartarian buildings that you'd be like, Frankie, there's no way those are in Canada land with all that ice and snow for 6 to 8 months of the year. Quit lying. Nope, I got some. You're not going to believe it. What's going on here? Channel 53 says Edge and Bret Hart are some of my favorite Canucks of all time, besides Frankie. Oh, shucks. Shucks. Thanks a lot. Put me in the same, even mentioning me in the same sentence as Edge. And come on, Bret. Best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. If anybody's like, what are these two clowns talking about right now? We're talking about the pro wrestling. So, yep, there you go. I haven't watched that in a long time because it's gotten out of hand, hasn't it? Hasn't it really gotten out of hand? Back in the day, you could body slam somebody and pin them for the 3 count. Now you got to take a table, wrap it in barbed wire, set it on fire, and then body slam a guy onto a pile of broken glass and thumbtacks, then hit him with that said table that's in barbed wire and a set of fire, set of light, and then give him 16 drop kicks off the top rope, and maybe you'll get a pin. It's crazy. Crazy. Yeah, they're both champs. That's right. Yeah, Bret the Hitman Hart. Fantastic. He lives here in Calgary, don't you know? Yep. The Hart family from Calgary. I did a boots on the ground, little heel toe walking around exploration of the Hart family house, the Hart mansion here in Calgary, with Bernie a couple of years back. So that's on the channel. Check that out. Hart House. Canada Dummy is here. Picked a bunch of Saskatoons here this morning. Fantastic. Delicious wild berries, Saskatoon berries. They're in Saskatchewan, don't you know? That's our favorite province to pronounce and to say. And I ain't making fun of it at all. I love Saskatchewan. And I love to say Saskatchewan, especially Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, eh, bud? We're just goofing around. Just kind of having some fun here. You know how it is.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
Anyways, thanks for joining me. If you haven't already, consider giving a guy one of these. It just kind of helps to push me out into the algorithm. Every little bit helps as we make our way closer and closer to 2,000 subscribers. So thanks to everybody who's already shared and subscribed. Welcome to all the new viewers, new friends of the channel. And speaking of welcome to everybody that's also tuning in on that green fighting platform, the Bumble. Because, we know how we do it. Broadcasting live simultaneously on Rumble and the HooTube. So howdy and welcome, everyone. Links below, by the way, for everything we're going to cover, as well as how you can get a hold of a guy. The usual song and dance, fellows email, and MeWe, BitChute, and the aforementioned Rumble. My location map is down there as well. You click on that, and it shows you all the boots on the ground spots I've hit here in Alberta so far. It's certainly not necessary, but link for guys' PayPal down there as well. You get a gift if you donate through the PayPal, by the way, if you're not worried about sharing your address, which I shall keep totally confidential. I'll send you a New West Reset t-shirt. Yep, that's right. Designed by yours truly. Printed by a local printing company right here in my neighborhood. Not some big corporation. 100% cotton. Great for a hot summer day celebration like Canada Day, 4th of July, Independence Day, or whatever summer festivities. You know what I'm saying? Phil Henry's here. Howdy, Phil. Good to see you. Good to see you. I have goji bushes here too, and wild grapes. Delicious. My granddaddy, my aforementioned granddaddy, used to grow grapes. Well, he used to grow all kinds of stuff. They had a huge vegetable garden. He had an apple orchard and a plum orchard. Grew grapes. He'd make homemade wine. Wine, he called it. It was hooch. Let's face it, it was hooch. Really? Is that right? Kathy Broaden says I got my New West Reset shirt on right now. Nice. Thank you. By the way, can you hear me okay? Sound and everything, the volume, all right? So on and so forth. Everything sound okay? Let me know in the box, in the chat. I have all kinds of wacky stuff going on here lately. Thank you very much. There's 5x5 in the box. Thank you. Thank you. Kathy as well. 5x5. Thanks. Oh, the black one. Yes. Yeah, the original. The OG New West Reset drip. See what I'm saying? The t-shirt come with nanobots? No. You just heard me pissing and moaning about technical difficulties here lately. I am not the guy that would have nanobots. I could barely run this thing. And it still goes off the rails on me. It's like a couple of tin cans with wet string. Anyway, I think maybe it's my headphones because my volume sounds low. But if you guys say it's all right, I believe you. I trust you now. Before we go to the Wikipedia and just have a quick look at just a quick peruse, if you will, of the history of Canadadia Land Day, July the 1st. Before we do that, I would like you, if you would be so kind, just like before the hockey game there, Bod. Stand up. Please remove any hats or headwear. And place your right hand over your heart. And stand and please pay your respects and your homage to the playing of the Canadian National Anthem, brought to you by Mr. Gordie Johnson and the Canadian band Big Sugar. This is a live performance of them performing the Canadian National Anthem. There you go. Big Sugar performing Old Canada live on Canada Day. And a shout out and rest in peace to original bassist and founding member of Big Sugar, Gary Lowe, who passed away in 2018. He was 64 years young. He was that black feller with the dreadlocks. You see a little bit there in the background. Original founding member and bassist Gary Lowe. And yeah, that was Gordie Johnson, lead guitar. Yeah, is that Dragon Sage playing the guitar? Sage's beard is longer, but hair is shorter. And if he was playing that, he would be playing it faster and heavier. But yes, yeah, dual headstock with, yeah, one of them's a 12 string. That's a Gibson double neck. Very good, very good. Morgan is here. Isabella Live 2.0. Hello, hello. You can do that. Nice. More power to you, bud. More power to you. I can't play the git fiddle to save my life. I can play the harmonica, though. Somebody asked me that on Sunday's show, and I saw the question, and I forgot to highlight it and answer, because I often get asked that question because of my tendency to, I take a liking. A fella takes a liking to the harmonica music, And often with my junk here in the background, I'll set up an old harmonica or two. But yeah, I can't play the guitar. I've tried. I can kind of play a little bit bottleneck style, acoustic, but I play in a very indistinguishable chord. And I have no idea about chord progressions on a guitar. And yeah, anyways. Ah, that was you. Channel 53 says I always ask about the harps. I collect them too. Ah, yes. And that's correct. He's saying that you're saying harmonica, but he's calling him a harp, Frankie. Well, in the blues, it's known as a harp. I play the harp. Not sure why. It's also known as a Mississippi saxophone and a gob box, G-O-B, gob box. So there you go. There's that. So thank you very much for standing at attention for the 2-minute and 10-second rendition. Maybe it comes from the Jew's harp. Could be. That's the little coily thing with, like brass, and you hold it between your teeth, and it's got the little extra metal piece in the middle that you flick with your finger, and it goes boing, boing, bing, boing, bing, boing, boing, right? And depending how you shape your mouth, depends on the sound, right? That's a pretty old-timey instrument. Kind of a poor man's instrument, but it's great because you just put it in your pocket. It's a little easier to carry around than a guitar, you know what I'm saying? Or a drum kit. That's why I like the harmonica. You can pick up a decent harmonica for like $30 and you just put it in your pocket. It goes where you go. Go camping? Yeah. Throw a couple in your pack sack. Bust that thing out around the campfire. Same thing with the guitar. It's not quite as easy to take with you, but it's not bad. It's easier than a piano. I do not rip. I'm decent, but I do not. I'm not great. I play very rudimentary style of blues harmonica. I like to try to emulate the Howlin' Wolf's style of harmonica playing. And I have sat in with local blues bands at my local juke joint around the corner. But I'm certainly not the best, and I'm certainly not flashy. But my favorite harp players for blues are, I like Howlin' Wolf style, but I really like Sonny Boy Williamson #2, Alec Rice Miller, and I also like Junior Wells, who teamed up with Buddy Guy for many years. They opened for the Rolling Stones, those two. And they played, what's that big place up there in the Switzerland place there, the big music festival. Name escapes me for the moment for some reason. But anyways, we're getting off topic here. It's harder than guitar to me because it's all feel. Playing the harmonica, yeah, kind of. And it's tough to get the knack of bending. Right, you can bend a note on a guitar by pushing up on the string or pulling down on the string on the fretboard, right? It's harder to bend a note on something like a harmonica. You got to change the shape of your mouth and kind of your back of your throat a bit as you're inhaling through the harmonica. And there's certain notes you can bend and others you can't. But on a guitar, yeah, I think it's maybe a little bit easier, although again I suck at guitar. But bending on a piano is actually, you can't bend the note physically on a piano because you can't reach in there and grab a hold of that piano wire and they pull it, right? So what they do is what's called mashing. They mash two keys, one just slightly like a split second before the other. Otis Spann is really good at that. He played in Muddy Waters band for decades and also had his own band for quite a long time. Phil says, I play trumpet. Oh, man. There you go. That ain't easy. Who's your favorite trumpet player, by the way, Phil? And who's your favorite guitar player? I mean, that's tough, right? Because there's so many genres of music. Not who you think the best is, just who your favorite is. Because my favorite is Buddy Guy, but there are guitar players that are better than Buddy Guy, even when Buddy was in his prime. He's an old man now. But... Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Just had a hiccup here on the interwebs again for some reason. I don't know why. It's a beautiful day today. It's 27 degrees Celsius. That's the high 80s Fahrenheit. So I don't know what the deal is. I'm gonna have to. Wayne Brady's gonna have to choke a bitch over at the internet company. Anyway, enough online threats. Empty threats, by the way. Let's have a look on the Wikipedia, see what it says here about the Canada Day. That whole thing there, eh? Again, links below for everything. Canada Day. It's the National Day. Oops, I got ahead of myself. It's the National Day of Canada. Well, you don't say. It's a federal statutory holiday. It celebrates the anniversary of Canadian Confederation. It's kind of like the original 13 colonies that declared independence in the U.S., right? Which occurred on July 1st, 1867 with the passing of the British North America Act. Yeah, see, we did it in typical Canadian fashion. We asked permission from the Crown. Can we have our independence, please? And the Crown said, I suppose so, you filthy colonies. I suppose so. Anyways, when the three separate colonies of United Canadas, Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, were united into a single dominion within British Empire called Canada. Originally called Dominion Day. The holiday was renamed in 1982. Yeah, I remember we used to call it Dominion Day. Some old timers still call it Dominion Day. The same year that the Canadian Constitution was patriated by the Canada Act of 1982, which severed the vestiges of legal dependence on the Parliament of the United Kingdom. Canada Day celebrations take place throughout the country, as well as in various locations around the world, attended by Canadians living abroad. Oh yeah, we'll drop everything if we're on a vacation in Italy or Mexico to try to order a Canadian beer and play a little bit of Big Sugar's version of "O Canada" on our phones or something. Oh yeah, Prince was an amazing guitarist. Very underrated. Very underrated. Yeah, it's tough to pick just one. Trumpet players, because again, so many different musical genres. Harry James, probably, Frankie. Or Herb Alpert. Herb Alpert. Yeah, nice. So commemoration. Canada Day is often informally referred to as Canada's birthday, particularly in the press. However, the term birthday can be seen as an oversimplification, as Canada Day is the anniversary of only one important national milestone on the way to the country's full sovereignty, namely joining on July 1st, 1867, of the United Province of Canada. Canada West became Ontario, while Canada East became Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, into a wider British Federation of 4 provinces. Canada became a kingdom in its own right within the British Empire, commonly known as the Dominion of Canada. Yeah, we had to do it in so many baby steps because we didn't, raise arms like the Americans did. We just, groveled. Typical Canadian style, right? We were so polite about it. I beg your pardon, Your Majesty, but may we separate and become our own kingdom? Oh yeah, Roy Clark. Fantastic. Great on the banjo. Actually, any stringed instrument. Jerry Reed, also very underrated. Yeah, that guy can pluck them strings, son. Although a British Dominion, Canada gained an increased level of political control and governance over its own affairs, the British Parliament and Cabinet maintaining political control over certain areas, such as foreign affairs, national defense, and constitutional changes. Canada gradually gained increasing sovereignty over the years, notably with passage of the Statute of Westminster in 1931, until finally being completely sovereign with the passing of the Constitutional Act 1982, which served to fully patriate the Canadian Constitution. Under the Federal Holidays Act, Canada is observed on July 1st, unless that date falls on a Sunday, in which case July 2nd is the statutory holiday. So you always get a 3-day weekend at least there, bud. Beauty. Celebratory events will generally still take place on July 1st, even though it's not the legal holiday. If it falls on a weekend, businesses normally close that day. Will usually dedicate the following Monday as the day off. So yeah, your standard fare. Tiny Tim. Oh, that's the ukulele. That's right. The tiptoe through the tulips with me. Oh, that was fantastic, but probably a nut. But anyway, didn't he pass away on stage performing too, by the way? That's dedication to your craft, man. The enactment of the British North America Act in 1867, today called the Constitution Act, which confederated Canada, was celebrated on July 1st, 1867, with the ringing of the bells at the Cathedral Church of St. James in Toronto, and bonfires, fireworks, and illuminations, excursions, military displays, and musical and other entertainments, as described in contemporary accounts. On June 20th of the following year, Governor General of the Viscount Monk issued a royal proclamation asking for Canadians to celebrate the anniversary of Confederation. However, the holiday was not established statutory until May 15th of 1879. So we dragged our feet for like years, eh? When it was designated as Dominion Day, alluding to the reference in the British North America Act to the country as a Dominion, the holiday was initially not dominant in the national calendar. Oh, it's because we're just so humble that even on our own calendars, we don't like to show off, eh? Which is oxymoron, because in the same breath, then I'll say we have an inferiority complex and we try to overcompensate by pointing out how great and fantastic everything in Canada is. Anyway, the holiday was no larger celebrations were held until 1917, during the WW1, obviously. And then none again for a further decade, the Gold and Diamond anniversaries of Confederation, respectively. In 1946, of the House of Commons introduced a private member's bill to rename Dominion Day as Canada Day. The bill was passed quickly by the lower chamber, but was stalled by the Senate. Well, you don't say. What, really? The Senate dragging their fat asses to get shit done? Oh, sorry, Channel 53, to get stuff done? The bill, okay, so which returned it to the House of Commons with the recommendation that the holiday be renamed the National Holiday of Canada, an amendment that effectively killed the bill. Idiots. Canadian government began in 1958 to orchestrate Dominion Day celebrations. That year, then Prime Minister John Diefenbaker requested that Secretary of State Ellen Fairclough organized appropriate events with a budget of $14,000. Parliament was traditionally in session, in July 1st, but Fairclough persuaded Diefenbaker and the rest of the federal cabinet to attend. Official celebrations thereafter consisted usually of trooping the color ceremonies on Parliament Hill in the afternoon and evening, followed by a mass band concert and fireworks display. Yeah, well, sounds good. By the 80s, we were already calling it Canada Day. The name Dominion Day was a holdover from the colonial era. Yeah. Conversely, numerous politicians, journalists, and authors such as Roberts and Davies decried the change at the time, and some continue to maintain that it was illegitimate and unnecessary to break with tradition. Others claimed Dominion was widely misunderstood, and conservatively inclined commentators saw the change as part of a much larger attempt by liberals to rebrand or redefine Canadian history. Yeah, probably. Always trying to redefine, change stuff. But who would have thought such a hubbub just to change the name from Dominion Day to Canada Day? Really? It took decades. Decades! You break. Most communities across the country host organized celebrations for Canada Day, typically outdoor public events such as parades, carnivals, festivals, barbecues, air and marine time shows, fireworks, and free musical concerts, as well as citizenship ceremonies. There's no standard of mode of celebration for Canada Day. Jennifer Welsh, a professor of international relations at University of Oxford, said about this: Canada Day, like the country, is endlessly decentralized. There doesn't seem to be a central recipe for how to celebrate it. Chalk it up to the nature of the Federation. I mean, there's some overall common threads of what people do to celebrate, for sure. There's pretty much every city or town has fireworks display. There's usually some kind of music or band, marching band, or parade of some kind. Heck, little towns of like 200 people have big parades. The whole town makes a parade of it. I mean, there's nobody to watch the parade because everybody's in the parade, but hey, just having fun, right? You know how it is. Come on.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
Oh, there's always protests. Of course, these weirdo people with weird colored hair saying that it's, it celebrates colonialism and it's bad for Indigenous peoples. What, like Indigenous peoples are Canadians too? They're automatically Canadians. Most Indigenous or Native folks that I know, they celebrate Canada Day. I'm sure there are some groups of people, just like any other groups of people, that are not so crazy about it. But hey, that's one of the beautiful things about living in a fantastic free nation, is you're free to choose how you want to celebrate it, or if you want to celebrate it at all. And for those of us that enjoy celebrating it, just don't rain on our parade. Shut up. Let us have some fun. Excuse me. Gotta hit a meeting, says Channel 53. But we'll check back in. Love y'all. Thank you very much. Thanks. Have fun at the meeting. Where are we at here? 40 minutes in. All right. You know what? Let's take a quick mid-show break. Normally, this is when I give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek, but you've seen that one already. Stampede Parade from 1930. That'll be coming up tomorrow. This one I uploaded on the channel quite a long time ago, but I've got it here to share once again. Howdy, hippie. How you doing? Good to see you. This is a rare look the inside of the Parliament buildings in Ottawa on Capitol Hill, Parliament Hill. And I'm sorry I do not have the date, but it's about 2.5 minutes long, and it's again a rare look at the interior of the Parliament buildings in Ottawa, here in Canada land. Happy Canada Day to all of you. Stick around. Be right back. We'll see you on the other side of about 2.5 minutes. All right? Cheers. Alberta, where they There I am. All right, we're back. Welcome back, everyone. Hello, howdy. Frankie here. New West Reset. New West Reset Live, episode 126. Early edition, Tuesday edition of the show, because it's Canada Day. So it's Canada Day edition of the show. Happy Canada Day to all of you, all my fellow Canucks out there. Thanks for spending a little bit of your celebratory long weekend with me. Really appreciate that. So at the top half of the show, we just had a look at the Wikipedia and had just a quick peruse through the history of how Canada Day came into being, formerly Dominion Day. In the video, the interiors of the Canadian Parliament building in Ottawa. So yeah, it kind of does look like a church or a cathedral, but it's not. It's just the seat of the Canadian government there in Ottawa. But they're fancy. We're fancy up here in Canada with all that, like the Supreme Court and all the government stuff. They still wear the wigs and all that. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So thanks for joining me here. As mentioned, Tuesday, July the 1st, 2025, coming up on 2 p.m. local time, Mountain Time. Today's Canada Day, and it's a beautiful day. 27 degrees Celsius. It's like the mid to high 80s Fahrenheit. Hippie Shake is here. Howdy, Hippie. Good to see you. Kathy Broughton is in the box. Baja is here as well. Howdy, howdy. Channel 53. Phil Henry's here. Morgan is here as well. Isabella Live 2.0. Good to see all of you. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. 83 Fahrenheit in Kentucky today. Wow, it's hotter in Canada than it is in Kentucky right now. Wrap your noodle around that and let it simmer for a bit, huh? Title! Okay, hey, don't forget you with the Canadian flag over there. Yeah, don't forget Tarta's here. So what do you say we get down to it? Have a look at some photos. I've had this folder for a while, and it was back when I was, thunderstorms rolling through. Yeah, we've got some evening thunderstorm warnings coming in, but plenty of time to throw some critter on the grill and barbecue that up and chase it back with a few wobbly pops before, the skies open up. So that's fine. That's fine. Anyways, this folder was put together a while ago before I tried to break myself of the habit of not labeling things properly. So unfortunately, not a lot of these photos are labeled, but guaranteed they're from somewhere, from coast to coast to coast here in Canada land. And the buildings are going to be built between 1860 and, 1920-ish, give or take. But the majority of them before WW1. Now, the photos may be a little bit more recently, photos taken in the 30s or 40s, but the buildings, they tell us they're built in this time frame. Some of them, you can just tell by looking at them, they look much older. Not only in the architectural style of the buildings, where you're like, come on, man, but even just the condition of some of the facade features on the building, the architectural details. So how about I quit blathering on about it and just get to it. Just want to make sure I got the right one opened up here first of all. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the right one here. Like I said, I'm trying to get better with labeling things and being a little bit more, not being so vague, shall I say, with some of the titles of my folders. Like I'll just name a folder, Old Buildings, Old Buildings 1, Old Buildings 2. And it's not a good way to stay organized. Here's Brandon, Manitoba. These giant things back here, one wonders. I don't know. I have no idea. But just a beautiful little cityscape or townscape here with these big towers and steeples, big massive buildings. I mean, it's fairly early on-ish. This photo's probably taken in the 30s, judging by the vehicles. I just don't know what these things are, man. I know they used to have back in the day what they called, or what I've heard referred to as moon towers or moon lights. And they were used to reflect softer light at night into your town square or your plaza, your center of town. You know, and people could walk through the beautifully landscaped, garden-esque, you know, town or city plaza in the evenings and have a little bit of soft light. But why there's two of these and there's no lens or anything on them, so I don't know what these things are, man. If you're from Brandon or in and around Brandon, Manitoba, and you know, give a guy a heads up there, will you? This is old Port Arthur, now known as Thunder Bay. I believe this is the Northern Hotel, built in 1885. Oh, ye olde ladder lean. So you know it's a legit photo because they've leaned a ladder. Look at the slope of this, by the way. No windows, no windows, no windows. Oh, window, bigger windows, bigger windows. And by the time you get to the front, huge windows, almost the size of this guy. But then you got to go up to get in. It's obviously a lower floor there that's been semi-buried and semi-revealed. This in the background too, mansard roof. This is Yale, British Columbia. I saved this because we did a live stream about just the fishy official story of Yale, British Columbia during the Klondike Gold Rush. Supposedly, at one point, there was like 14,000 people living in this town. You can see these false fronts, but it has the peaked roof in behind it. I just find it interesting that there's so many rail lines and switches right here and a place to take on water right in the middle of what's their main street of their town. We see this a lot. Even today, there's some small Canadian and Alberta and American towns. Maybe elsewhere, maybe in the UK or in Europe, I'm not sure. But I've seen in Canada and the US where it's a modern little town, but they still have a train running through. And I'm not talking about a commuter train, like an electric tram or streetcar or anything. No, like a freight train. Like a diesel locomotive freight train. So one wonders why did they plan out, because it seems like they didn't plan it out at all, to have what is obviously their main street here, the same road as the railroad. Just does not, I don't know, just does not add up. Howdy, Brian. Brian Metz in the box. Oh, Canada. Welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, so it's just very puzzling. Here the train would literally stop and take on water, you know, for the boiler, right, on the old steam locomotives. I mean, if you're staying in this hotel or this room or this place or wherever, or if you live here, kind of noisy, isn't it? These are some, I believe, Métis folk, half indigenous, half French, or Scottish. I'm not going to lie. I just like the hat. This is a Canadian Pacific Railroad train station. Yeah, because you need all this to buy a ticket and have your luggage sit while the train pulls up and you get off and on the train. I understand, it's Canada land, so maybe you want to be protected from the elements, but wow, stone and brick and just all of this. And by the way, what are these? I don't know. I have no idea what purpose. It looks like some kind of tech thing. What's often referred to as antiquitech, antique technology, basically. What the heck is this thing? This might just be a signal, like a sign signals, But yeah, conical domes and double turrets with all of the stonework and brickwork. That's how we do it in Canada. Stacked brick along here. Just as wait inside for the train to come. I mean, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but whew, pretty fancy. Can't remember where this... Don't even know what that says, so I'm not sure. This is Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, I think. I'm thinking this is Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Yeah, absolutely, Scott said. Yeah, we need it. Need a fancy school, too. Built in 1880. Big, mass, rough-hewn stones, really low arched windows here. And this is quite the song and dance. Some kind of gazebo-esque cupola, all encased in glass. You can see here some of the air exchange. What would you call these? Like vents, I guess. Not sure what's going on. It's like a partial stone wall, and then they've built this crappy wooden fence here on top of it. That's what it looks like. Something going on there. Yeah, and the stairs here, you got to go up from this way to this way, and then up. Then there's a little bit of a landing, and then up and a landing. Very complicated. Very complicated. This is an old, well, it's a seniors complex, but for old men, apparently. Provincial home for old men in Kamloops, British Columbia. Very small city, even by today. It's in the Okanagan Valley. It's kind of in the fruit-growing belt of Canada land there. Peaches, cherries. That's where a lot of the vineyards and wineries are. You name the fruit for the most part, and then this kind of getting into the area where it's grown here in Canada land. This place is, again, you've got these multi-angled, steep sort of a tower on the corner of this building with all kinds of wacky, I don't know what, tech of some kind on it. It just seems overbuilt and over-engineered and overly fancy. And that's not to say that, old retired folks don't deserve anything aesthetically pleasing. They do. This just seems like a lot, especially for a small town. Yeah, we're kind of all over the place here. This is an interior of a theater. I'm sorry. Again, my labeling practices have improved because I do not know what theater this is. But holy moly, man. Give me a break. Like, aren't you supposed to be watching the stage and or screen when you go to the theater? So you would think all of this added extravagance would just be a needless expense. Like, I understand you want to create a mood and an ambiance and an atmosphere. But once the house lights dim and the picture starts flickering or the performers take the stage, all of this becomes moot. You're going to see it. But is it ever gorgeous, nonetheless? Again, I'm sorry, no idea. All I can say is this is somewhere in Canada. 1880s, 1890s, judging by the photograph. You can clearly see here brick or cobblestone streets built wide enough to accommodate 2 tracks for the tram or the trolley, the streetcar, electric streetcar, overhead electric. And you've got all of this opulent beauty. And, you know, here's the level of tech that's used on a daily basis. And that's what people had at their disposal to build this kind of stuff, or this kind of stuff back here. And again, as a reminder, in Canada, not in all parts of Canada, you know, southwestern British Columbia can be quite mild, and they can often go, you know, a full winter without seeing any snow. They might just get some cold rain. But I mean, for the most part, as you would assume, most of Canada experiences cold winters, just like, you know, the North. Think like North Dakota or Minnesota. It gets dang cold. Get a lot of snow. Around the Great Lakes, it's that wet, heavy snow, a lot of wind. So you're not going to be out in January, February up here on scaffolding, laying brick. So you've got a much shorter window of building time than, let's say, in a place like Savannah, Georgia, or Houston, Texas. Kelowna, in that fruit belt again, it's a little bit more of a more modern looking building, kind of that Art Deco style. But I touched on this in the last live stream that I think a lot of these Art Deco buildings built in 37, a lot of these Art Deco buildings are actually older buildings that have been re-facaded in this new quote-unquote architectural style, the latest craze in architecture. And then it's just, you know, rebranded, repurposed, and rechristened with a new year. Not all of them, but I think a lot of them. Especially in a little town like Kelowna, where really nobody would know any different. Right? Well, within a generation or two, especially pre-WW2, I mean, this is all going to be forgotten over what was originally here. Was it originally a 2-story brick building that they just refacaded? Or did they knock it down completely and build this up from scratch? It starts to get pretty muddy after a while. This is either some early militia or branch of the Canadian Army, or it could be the Northwest Mounted Police. But obviously, this is what we're here to see. This is, I believe, one of the exhibition buildings in the Canadian Dominion exhibitions that were held annually from 1867 through to the beginning of WW1. Much like the World Fairs that were hosted by different cities, these were Canada-wide fairs hosted by a different city every year. Some cities hosted multiple times. But this is the exhibition something. It's some hall, some main exhibition building. But look at this, man. It's just made to look like a crown on top of this tower. And apologies for the quality of the photo, but you can see inside this, it's either bells or sculptures or something. And then all of this detailed dental molding and all of this work around here. This shenanigans with whatever this is shooting out the top. This big, massive arched window. And then the huge doorway. There's a guy standing in the doorway. So let's say he's 5'8", 5'8". So there's an 11-foot doorway, 12-foot doorway. You know, with this sort of half rose window, sort of a pattern about, and then all of these little windows, same thing. I mean, it's just, I wish I had a better photo of it. It's a pretty exquisite building. So this would have been one of the halls that was built temporarily for, whatever city is hosting the exhibition. And Scott says, dang. Yeah, Hippie, I agree. Hippie shaking the box. Stunning. With hearts in her eyes. Yeah. This is the library at the Canadian Capital, the Parliament building, like we just had the interior tour of in that video. This is the library that's in behind the Canadian Parliament buildings. The one that looks like it's 2/3 buried in the ground. This is the library inside. You can see just level upon level upon level of books, big mezzanines, these carvings and doohickeys. Excuse me. So this is just a crack in the glass plate negative, unfortunately, but still the wood carving and all of this, I'm assuming, is iron. And then just whatever this thing is, the bottom of this support pillar. I mean, it's just incredible. Howdy, Michael. Michael Davis in the box. Welcome. He says, hey, Frankie, just want to say your channel is very underrated and I love it. Well, thank you. Wish you and Chris from Old World Exploration would do a monthly Knuckleheads episode. You guys mesh perfectly. Anyhow, love your work. Thank you very much. We try to get together as often as we can. And although there isn't much of a time difference between us, it's only an hour difference. Chris is a family man, and he's busy. Even during the off season of construction, he's teaching, and when he's not teaching, he's working construction. Plus, he has his own home improvement projects, and so we do it as often as we're able to. I mean, we would love to do them more often, but we get together when we can. But we always have a good time. So yes, thank you. The Knuckleheads show is a show that he and I co-host together. We broadcast it simultaneously on both of our channels, Old World Exploration, and on my channel, New West Reset. And for the most part, we talk about Canadian stuff, and we will concentrate and do a deeper dive and focus in on a specific city. And we take requests for Canadian cities. So if you would like us to do a specific town or city that we haven't covered yet, let us know. Comment or email or whatever. Let us know. So this is the Central Fire Headquarters in Brandon, Manitoba. Brandon, by the way, is south of Winnipeg, Manitoba. And it's an exquisite little city. And it has a lot of this kind of stuff. As does Winnipeg still. Not nearly as much as it did. But I equate Winnipeg to, it was Canada's version of like one of those old world American white cities or golden fantastical cities, right? Like Chicago, like we see for the Chicago World's Fair, or San Francisco for that World's Fair. I firmly believe that Winnipeg was one of those cities, and it's just been obliterated. So this is just your average bank, because you want to have all this big block coining and all of these cartouches. I believe that would be probably CBC, Canadian Bank of Commerce or something. It's now the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC. It's funny how they have these ledges here that have these big, huge supports, but these aren't doors or windows. So why do you need a ledge there? Well, just because we had extra money kicking around. We are a bank after all. This, I'm assuming, is the entrance to the bank. And then here we've got a separate entrance that often in other old buildings we see is to go directly up to the top floor. So I'm not sure why. And then this window is at a different height than these, although it's at a recessed wing of the building. So maybe it's just perspective, but seems odd, right? Like, wouldn't you be able to get access to the second floor from inside the main floor unless it's a security issue because it's a bank? But if so, aren't the people that work here work for the bank? I have so many questions. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Let me ask you something. How come you asking so many jackassy questions?
This is the chapel. Which chapel is this? The Roman Catholic Cathedral, the main chapel, Montreal. Which one is this one? I'm sorry, I do not recall. It might be Notre Dame. It might be Notre Dame. Church and Bishop's Palace. Let's have a look at this church first and foremost. All kinds of bobules all over it. It's got, it's often referred to as ether fencing along here, much like, you know, the Antiquitech. The theory or the thought is put forward that perhaps these were a way of gathering or harnessing the ether, the energy, the natural energy that does occur in the atmosphere. The higher you go, the higher the voltage, wattage, amperage. I don't know. I'm not an electrician. The energy, the electric current, the static electric current in the atmosphere. Well, not necessarily upper atmosphere either, just in the air. Hence the theory as to why there's so many tall towers, spires with all kinds of what appear to be antenna or devices of some sort sticking up. Even amongst flagpoles and lightning rods, we see things that don't serve as flagpoles or lightning rods. But you can see here how it slopes. This is looking like very low, and then a bit of a slopage downward here. So there's a lot more space between the ground level and the bottom of the windowsill than there is here. So definitely some slidage, mud flood-age. Looks like they've already bricked in windows here. These are stained glass windows. Sorry, it gets a little pickleated, but these might be just stained glass and it's the light reflecting. I don't know, but it looks like they're bricked in or whatever. And I have no idea what the Bishop's Palace is supposed to mean, but that's this guy's place. Look at this structure, you know, with this cupola on top with a mansard style instead of a dome. And they've done these arched roofuses on these dormers. It's incredible. These are all French doors, I reckon. Just open these up. Beautiful airflow. This would probably be part of an air exchange airflow system. Heating and cooling, old world heating and cooling system. And again, apologies as to where this is. It could be Brandon. It could be Winnipeg. I don't know. Sorry. It just looks like mud or dirt streets, but then you have all this text. So they can concrete or stack stone and brick and cut masonry blocks and all that to do all this work, but they can't get rid of the mud street. This is inside the Senate chambers, the Canadian Senate on Capitol Hill or Parliament Hill in Ottawa. This is just where the old fuddy-duddy senators sit around and drag their feet and stall bills, you know. Look at all this nonsense. It does, again, it looks like a cathedral or a church that's been repurposed to be the House of the Senate in Ottawa, Canada. And it may very well be. This have been much like what old churches were pre-reset. Some have speculated perhaps some kind of healing center using harmonics, frequency with the organs, the pipe organs, something to do with light therapy, to do with the rose windows and the colored stained glass. Be that as it may, this could have been repurposed twice. It could have been, an ancient building of a certain purpose. For example, again, that healing center of some sort, then repurposed into a church, a place of worship, and now it's the House of Senate. It's, all of these carvings and all of those little tiny columns. It's just a lot of bother and nonsense. It's like there's just time and resources and money were just not even an issue. Collegiate Institute in Port Arthur, now Thunder Bay. Yeah, so just, a college building, basically, or a collegiate, could have been a collegiate school, meaning kind of like a private school. Got the cupola here with a dome on it. And you've just got this. How much you want to bet that this at one point had something going on top of it? It's already been decapitated or circumcised or whatever term you want to use. One would think that this large tower and the main entrance here, one would think it would reflect the opulence of this smaller tower here, this little cupola, right? It just on a grander scale. I'm just speculating. A couple of nice old buildings in the back with the mansard roofs as well. And then there's just this beautifully landscaped garden. Very nice. But again, a lot of bother just go to school. The students are, there to learn. Sure, you'd think they lounge here in their free time or study, and it's aesthetically pleasing. But again, the time and the resources and the population that it would take to build such a large building. And Port Arthur or Thunder Bay was not a massive city. This photo has been altered slightly, but this is a school in St. John's, Newfoundland. They have inked in the black or the dark to provide the contrast. And you can see by the text here that this is, it's prepped for a postcard. So these clouds are all hand painted in. So who knows what was behind this? We'll leave the little tiny wooden shack. Whoops, excuse me. We'll leave the little wooden shack back here because that helps to push the narrative. This looks funny. And this looks like it's missing something as well, but definitely altered. It's the green block, 1909. Green block where? I'm sorry, I don't know. Oh, it's Red Deer, Alberta. Oh, halfway between Calgary and Edmonton. Red Deer, Alberta. There we go. Massive rough-hewn stone here, big, huge keystone. And then just this extra work here with this border stone. You get to see these windows in action. This one's been pulled open. Airflow. And then these windows down here underneath this window display let light down into the lower level. Sometimes they board these in, or they just paint them over, or they cover it up with wood, or they just facade stone right over them. Post office in Hamilton, Ontario. Not excessively large structure, but quite beautiful and completely unnecessary to send or receive packages or to buy stamps. I'm guessing it's the sorting depot too. Perhaps. The mail comes in. They sort it in this building, probably in the basement. Either way, again, these bobules and all kinds of stuff going on here. What's this? I'm not sure what a Phoenician shell with what looks like an eye, an all-seeing eye in the middle of it has to do with your mail, but okay. I mean, it's got to be the post office. It says it right here. Post office. He's just leaning on this post, staring at the post office. You know, if I was standing next to you, I'd be staring at it too, buddy. It's beautiful. These little pediments to mirror this big, large pediment. Pasture of Castles in the box. Hello, hello. Good to see you. St. John's, Newfoundland again. I believe this is, I think this is a school. Not entirely sure, but I think it's a school. Built out of old stones. Again, cupola here, cupola, different styles of cupolas, all kinds of portals here, arched windows over here. It's kind of hard to see, but stacked brick all up in here too. And then down here, little bitty arch window, just peeking out of the ground here. And then window way down here, and another one down here. It almost looks to me like at one point these were separate buildings, and then they've joined them together by building a brick building in between. This is unusual. Door, big window, smaller window, smaller window. I don't know. It's kind of what it looks like. These weren't just punched in after the fact. They were intentional because you could see the big, huge header stone above them, just like every other opening has, whether it's a door or a window. Oh, this one's going to be super pixelated. Why did I even bother? It's a lovely shot of the street, though. Big, wide street. Big steeple in the background. Huge arched doorway in this building. Not sure where this is, though. These. Not sure who these shady characters are in their wacky outfits. Some kind of militia or military force, maybe. And they've built this funny shack off the front of this thing. Got these big, beautiful stone archways. And then they've built this crummy shack mudroom, I guess. I don't know. It's definitely an afterthought. I mean, come on. It looks so out of place. This is, I believe this is in Brandon, Manitoba as well. I think that's another one of those Dominion exhibition buildings. Could even be that same building from a different angle. Beautiful stone. Big, massive pillars or columns here. Speaking of Dragon Sage, somebody mentioned him earlier. And yeah, he made mention of his two-part walking tour of Old Montreal that very often, almost always, 6 pillars in the front. So perhaps something to that. Beautiful theater. Yep, just, you know, where you go to see the opera, I'm guessing. Back in the day, old-timey days, they were always fancy operas for some reason. Look at this. crowns. Just, it's unbelievable. I know it's kind of a crummy picture, but murals all painted on the walls and just all of this opulence, man. I mean, your attention is going to be here, but all of this. Again, I just love the extravagance of the architecture, and this is the level of tech. This is what hauled all the building materials to the job site. How long did that take? Like in a building that we often see that's this size, that they'll say, oh, it was built in a year. Okay. Let's give you that. But how many weeks or months out of that year was just hauling cartload after cartload? Even if you had a wagon train of 20 mules and carts hauling stones and wood and iron and glass. Not to mention the infrastructure of the building, if there's any plumbing or electric in it, although probably at this point, probably not. But either way, man. So this is Victoria Square in Old Montreal. It's still there, although it's been slightly modified, and I'm sure Queen Victoria statue here has been vandalized many times. This is part of Dragon Sage's video where he was doing his walking tour. Look at this here, this back here, another one here, this. I mean, it's getting silly with the spires and the towers. And this ain't a church, but it's got the little nodes on it, just like churches and cathedrals do. So this would be where you had one of those moonlights. It would shine down probably in this pool. It would create a nice soft glow in the evening and at night. If you were to, walk along here, after dining or eating in one of these cafes, and you take your best gal for a stroll around the square. I believe this is in Hamilton, Ontario, the funicular, the incline. I think this is old world tech as well. It's just been rediscovered and repurposed and reused. But take note of all this back here. They say this is just rock face, cliff face with, a couple of large stone buildings built on top of it, but it's definitely worth looking into. Steve Q is here. Howdy, Steve. Good to see you. Giggity indeed. Giggity indeed. Canada Dummy says they destroyed Little Burgundy in Montreal for Expo 67. Little Burgundy. I have to ask my parents about that, because I know of Expo 67 in Montreal, but I've not heard of Little Burgundy. I'm guessing it was a neighborhood. If that's the case, I am not surprised. Here's another shot of the interior of the Library of Parliament in Ottawa, 1887. This wood floor. And then again, just the opulence of this place. Multi-mezzanine levels. How do you even get up there? Stairs, I'm guessing, somewhere. This big dome here. This is under. I wish I had a shot of this dome, but I do not. Oh yeah, please do. I love that stuff. Steve says I might take some pictures of some of the architecture in Toronto area to Niagara Falls and email to you. Yeah, that'd be great. Speaking of Montreal, back in Montreal here again. This is Marché Bon Secours, excuse me, or the Bon Secours Market. It's just the end of it here. It's a big, massive building that takes up an entire city block. But they would have, open air farmers markets. My great granddaddy used to go to this. in his horse and buggy, actually. Look at this mansard roof here in the background with all the tech on it. Just beautiful. Jacques Cartier Square in Old Montreal. This could be any city in Europe, you know, really. I mean, even the signs are in French and stuff. So where's this? France? Belgium? Switzerland? Yeah, there's parts of Old Montreal that have the big, wide cobblestone streets like this. But then once you get into some of the smaller side streets or the not so like main or high streets, not necessarily back alleys or back lanes, although some of them too, but some of the just side streets get really narrow, and it's, again, looks very European. It's just an old photo of, I believe this gentleman is Blackfoot. Mountain View Hotel in Hamilton, Ontario. What do you think happened here? Very unusual. And this looks like it has seen something. You know what I mean? Why just this facade or face is bricked and everything else is stone, I do not know. It's definitely been mucked around with. It's a very unique looking building. But just crappy streets. This could be snow, actually. That might be snow there. I'm thinking this is snow, but still muddy, crappy street, snow or otherwise. And then just a big dirt hill going up here. Such an incline here, they have to put stairs. This could be a train depot here, maybe. Not sure. City Hall in Old Montreal City Hall, I think. Very gingerbread looking. Beautiful building. Just a big dome right here in the middle. A lot of the old Canadian city halls have this glass encased dome in the middle. The Calgary City Hall has one, and even the dome itself is glass. Not sure if this one is or not. Looks like metal. Beautiful building. All the dental molding, and again, this stacked brickwork here. Michelangelo's here. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. St. John Episcopal Church in St. John, New Brunswick. Absolutely exquisite. Looks like it's actually, again, been enhanced with paint. And definitely vanilla sky, so maybe prepped for a postcard. They've added all kinds of stuff here with paint. All of these people in this horse and cart, I think, is all painted in. I believe this is Quebec City. It could be Montreal, though. The old walled city portion here was like the big city gate. Amazing. Flanking doors and then the windows above those. Interesting carvings there. This light fixture here. Look at this. Boom. Look how fancy that is. The old Amsterdam Tavern. Not sure. This is definitely in Canada, but I'm not sure where. I apologize. What's going on here? CP Rail Depot and Park in Red Deer. It's not enough to have this super extravagant train station, much like the one in Moose Jaw. But we're going to have a big landscaped park. It's owned by the property's owned by the railroad, and then a beautiful fountain and all the flowers in the garden and everything. Could you imagine if they made train stations like this today? Come on, man. What a time, you know? What a time it must have been, right? Cool channel name in the box. Howdy, howdy. The video with the horses pulling the trolley trains down the street. What type of calamity might force you to put a horse in front of your car and tow your car around the city? Yeah. There's a funny meme going around where it shows a picture of a horse pulling a trailer. And it says, I don't know, something like 100 years ago. And then there's a picture of a horse in a trailer being pulled by a vehicle. And it says modern day, and it says well played horse or something like that. It's a pretty funny meme. Medicine Hat, Alberta, way down in southern Alberta, almost at the American border. South Railway Street. Not much going on in Medicine Hat other than farming. But even those farmers need big, huge brick and stone 2- and 3-story structures with, you know, big arches and keystones and whatever this fancy shenanigans is up on top of this little place. Raised paved concrete sidewalks, but still got this shitty mud and dirt street. It's a head scratcher. I'll never get over that. Just doesn't make sense. St. Elm Street School in Medicine Hat. Man, oh man, like that is an awfully fancy school by any standards. But again, Medicine Hat, even today, is maybe 100,000 people. But back in and around 1900, it's maybe had 20,000, but probably not even that. Maybe more like 10,000. I'm just throwing these numbers out of there, just pulling them out of the air, but I'm guessing. It's not a massive city, and it never was a huge town back in the day. Where are we here? Brandon, Manitoba. Brandon, Manitoba. A little bit more of a recent photo from 1940s, I'm thinking, but look at this, man. Look at these windows above doors. And then these are windows above shop windows, I'm guessing. Wow. And all down the street, too. I mean, it's kind of fades off and it's hard to see. Whoops. But all down the street, man. Absolutely lovely. And again, all the stack brick, arches. It's the little farming community. Wheat and rye and barley and corn farmers. St. John's, Newfoundland in the winter. I just thought this was neat. Everybody's gotten rid of their buggies and gotten sleighs. This guy's hauling his keg of beer. Good on you, bod. And all these big, massive structures on this hillside. Look at this. What the hell's going on here? This is a fishing town. Newfoundland is basically known for its fishing industry. Look at this. Already looking aged with bricked in or boarded up or blocked up windows. Not sure what happened here. Oh, that looks like that goes quite a ways down, doesn't it? Here's the road. They've had to put a barrier here because this goes way down. So is this some kind of viaduct or raised street? Could be, because look how low these go. And this is all snow, by the way, but look how low down these go. So they may have raised this road or something to compensate for something, some catastrophe. And you end up with multiple levels buried below the ground. Michael says, I was 10 minutes into Guy Anderson's latest video, but Frankie was live, so I had to have a peek. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that, eh? Yeah, Guy Anderson. He's, where did I see him recently? Old World Exploration, Chris's channel, and I think I've seen him a few times on Campbell's channel, Autodidactic. Anyway, that is the end of that folder. So there you go, old-timey photos of Canada. Most of those photos, with a couple of exceptions, taken pre-WW1, and the buildings, with maybe only one or two exceptions, built pre-1860 to 1914-ish, except for a couple of the Art Deco ones, which I still think is kind of a suspicious narrative. So there you go. There you go. So we're going to cut it a little bit short here today because, as mentioned, you know, it's Canada Day. So I got some critter to grill on the barbecue and some wobbly pops to consume. And I think I just heard my brother come home because he took a half shift today. Half shift on the holiday gives you a full day's pay for a half shift day. So that's where the smart fella's doing there. So I think we're going to fire up the Barbie pretty quick. But before I wind it down completely, you know, going to do the usual. Going to share a few things. We just got out of some photos here, but I'm going to show you another couple of photos. This I just took in the back lane or the back alley behind my place. This is your typical Canadian graffiti right here. Just a time for Canada Day. Yeah, love yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely. But don't do it in the illegal way in public, because the cops will put the stainless steel bracelets on you and haul you away for showing everybody your willy. Sorry, I couldn't help myself with that one. What else we got here? Let's see. I think I have a couple of quick little videos here. No, I shared those already. Yeah, the old Canada, Big Sugar. I'll play that again. Why not? Here we go. Please stand, rise, and remove your hats and place your right hand over your heart. Please rise for the performing of Canada's national anthem, O Canada. All right, so there you go. So that is going to seal the deal here for Frankie. New West Reset Live, the Canada Day show, episode 126. Thank you very much for spending a little bit of your Tuesday with me, your extended long weekend. If you're a fellow Canuck, happy Canada Day to you. Tomorrow, vintage footage. So we kick off the rodeo here in Calgary, Stampede Week. Vintage footage will be cowboy rodeo parade themed. Boots on the Ground Friday, and we'll see you back here next Sunday for episode 127. So until the next one, take care out there and have yourselves a good one. All right, everyone? Thanks a lot. Cheers.
It's a mystery! It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma!